Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and we are doing my very first tier list. Now, really quick before we jump into this, I just want to say we're only doing 5 stars. This is the only one that I could find on tier maker. And we are going to use a couple placeholder images here to signify the characters that are in the game that I do not have symbols for here. But besides that, we're just going to jump right into it. I'm carefully looking for Devin here. We're actually going to replace this right here. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it later. Also, if you want to continue to support the plat, thank you so much. If you would please like, comment on this video. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you could always support me on Patreon and get nothing in return other than a heartfelt thanks, depending on the level. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to be doing just the 5 stars today. And these are here, but if you have an updated list of all the 5 stars in the game that you want to make on this, you want to go through the effort, I think I'm going to make a tier list as well. But if anyone happens to have one already, just let me know in the comments. That would be very, very useful for me. Also, I'm going to log into the game just so I have some background music. But let's start. This shouldn't take too long. So, Scarecrow, number 1. I think there's a caveat here. I think Scarecrow, we're just going to say C is the worst, by the way. Worst. That way we know this is just holding the units. There is no D tier in this tier list. Scarecrow, I think at 4.5 stars, I think he's the worst 5-star in the game. However, I do think once you get him up to 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars, and you get his final 2 abilities, I think he moves solidly up to the A tier. He's wonderful at killing Kates. And he has like 2 different 4 times attacks that are very good. It completely changes his character from being pretty bad to being like, okay, he's pretty reasonable, honestly. And I like him a lot, but mine's at 4.5. I'm not using him at all. Once he gets up to 5-star, I will use him. Gilderoy. Now, this might rub some people the wrong way. I want to start by prefacing that I have Gilderoy. You can see I'm playing the game here. Gilderoy is in my party. He's my protagonist. He's the first character I've had in the game. I've always used him in literally every party other than maybe one of the super bosses. He hasn't left my party basically at all. He's level 70 and I love using Gilderoy. I think he's a cool character. I like his design. I do think Gilderoy is currently the worst 5-star in the game. And that kind of hurts to say, but I am currently 93 hours into the game. And so this is, again, I've played the game for 93 hours. I can only give you my opinion up to the first 93 hours, okay? As of now, I have never once wanted a tank in my party. In the very, very early game, in the early mid game, I used the tanking ability. And I think it wasn't even good when I used it. I just used it to use it. But it's never been useful in anything that I've used so far. Now, maybe some of the super bosses, some of the mega bosses, the tower, you never know. All right. There might be taunting up is really good. But even then, I think his taunting abilities are kind of not very good. Can I make this game bigger here so we can maybe also take a look at this while we're in between? So the issue with Gilderoy is that all of his abilities are kind of bad. Now there is a caveat to Gilderoy that I think is actually important. I think Incite is better than Desperate Resolve. Desperate Resolve only lasts 2 turns. Incite lasts 3 turns. You don't get the boost in defense, but that's okay because you would rather have extra turns and not have to spend as many turns using a taunt. His repeated thrust is bad. Paralyzing thrust is average. Cunning counters is it's sometimes okay, and healing thrust is actually pretty good. So if an enemy is specifically weak to spears and you do a full BP healing thrust, it does good damage. And he has a huge amount of attack, right? 622 is a lot of attack. So he still does pretty good damage in that case, but it's all just worse than what other people are doing, in my opinion. His big draw is the ability to taunt and not die, but there is a caveat. Now, I think Gilderoy might be better than I'm thinking, specifically due to Chain Lightning. Now, this ability does shit damage, but it does hit 3 times, and each hit has a chance to paralyze. It seems like each hit has a chance to paralyze. So if you land the paralysis, and so you have a % chance to land paralysis, not super high, not super low. It seems to happen semi-frequently, but not guaranteed by any means. So if you land the paralysis, and then once they have paralysis, it's not even guaranteed to do anything. Then they have to like fail like a Pokemon style check where then they get paralyzed. Then they skip their whole turn, right? That's very, 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 very powerful. But you're rolling a dice roll to roll another dice roll. So if something's weak to lightning, it seems like this is pretty good. If you're breaking shields 3 times and you're having a chance to skip their turns, I think this is very, very good. Maybe one of the best shield breaking lightning characters in the game. Or if they're weak to spears, good damage there. But it's a little too niche. I don't personally find him very good. I do think he's the worst 5-star. Now, that doesn't mean that he's bad. I just typically, I feel like where he's good is too narrow to be useful most of the time. Now, Lynette, this is a character I don't have. There's a couple characters on this list that I don't have that I'm going off of what other people say or my interpretation of their abilities. This character, I don't even know what it does. So I'm going to pass judgment. Everyone says she's an S. I'm going to say she's an S. I honestly don't know. I can't even look at her abilities in game because I don't have her. So I have to look it up on some Japanese website or someone else's stream so I can look at their content to look at what the character does. I don't know. I know nothing about this character, but everyone says it's an S, so I think it's safe to say they're an S. Viola. Viola is... Is that Theo? Let me take a look. Is that Theo? Is that what Theo looks like? Let me just double check. Is that what Theo looks like? Quick, go fucking back. That's Theo. Okay. I thought maybe I had the wrong character because he looks a lot like Ashland to me. No, that is Ashland. Theo's got brown hair. Where the fuck? Theo, where are you at? Theo has got brown hair with a... Give me... Here he is. This is Theo. Okay, this is Theo. Just move this out of here, okay? All right, so... Sorry, back to the tier list. Viola, I think, is pretty insane. I think in the early, mid, and even our current late game, which is not going to be the game's late game forever, but right now in our late game, I think she is a top tier damage dealer. Very, very, very good. However, I think where her real strength lies and what's going to put her in S tier for me is that she has got an insane amount of utility that I can't see her ever being completely irrelevant. She could definitely be power crept. I'm not saying that, but her skills are very good, right? She's got just a huge amount of utility in her kit. Anti-attack, impart a single foe with physical attack down and elemental defense down for 2 turns, which is actually 3 turns with her passive, right? Then she's got debilitate, single foe defense down, elemental defense down 20%, 2 turns. Crimson blast, a double shield break, double wide burst, an AoE double shield break, a blazing dagger, defense down while dealing damage. She even can self heal, and she even has a triple attack, right? Like, all of her abilities are good. Like, I mean, maybe HP snatch is not very good, maybe double sting is not very good, but blazing dagger is questionable, but I do like it for a good AoE damage. It's like reasonable, and it helps your other characters do damage. But anti-attack, debilitate, crimson blast, double wide burst, these are abilities that are going to be very hard to just like straight up power creep. And I'm not saying they won't be, but even when she's power crept by a different character that's stronger, like, this will still be good, right? It's like, these are still good abilities. If it's the second strongest version of these abilities, that doesn't make them bad. They're still good. Don't eat that bag, bro. Cats. So I think she's solidly in the S tier. I think Viola is absolutely great, mostly because of her longevity. But she also has current power level, which is very high. Millard, I think a lot of people would put Millard in C. I'm not with you. I think Millard is a solid B character. I think Millard suffers from what Viola benefits from. I think Millard is potentially, I don't know if characters that are coming out, but Millard is very easy to power creep. I think his current power level in the game is very high, actually. Like, I think all of his abilities are pretty relevant, or, you know, maybe not all of his abilities, but he's got 3 really good abilities, maybe 4, right? Heal more all is very good. That just, like, you don't need to use BP almost ever. At a 130 potency, he just like tops off the entire team. And if it starts to fall off, you do have enhanced healing all, which is a 205 potency, which will top off everybody, even without BP at our current stage in the game. Luminescence, is very good potency, hits everybody, does good damage, and Crippling Bash is a great way to do a little bit of damage, not much, but also imparting that physical attack down. So you have a chance when something's weak to stabs, you have a chance to break a shield while also doing a physical defense down to 15%, which is very good. It's not quite as good as Viola's 20%, which also does elemental 20%, but this ability is very powerful, especially against single target bosses. Now the thing is, none of his abilities are that amazing. They're all pretty good for the current power level of the game. He's a great healer, and he is a decent damage dealer with a little bit of support. Now, I think this character will be pretty easy to power creep. It's not hard to imagine a character more powerful than him, but I don't think there are that many characters more powerful than him in the game right now. So I think in terms of current power level, I think he's an A, but I think I'm going to put him at B purely because I doubt that he has the longevity of some of these other characters. Theo, I think, is a solid... I'm not going to put Theo in S tier. I do think there is a full tier of characters better than him, but I do think Theo deserves to be solidly in the A tier. Very good at pretty much everything. See, do I have him in my party right now? I do. So some of the characters I could show. Pretty insane elemental attack damage, but he's also got even more physical attack damage than Gilderoy, right? So he's got even more physical than Gilderoy, and he's also got almost as much HP, and he's probably got more physical defense. So it's like he's tankier than Gilderoy, at least arguably, potentially. And he's got probably the best heal skill in the game. And honestly, he's got this passive of BP boost. So he gets extra BP at the start of fights, makes him great for farming early fights, right? With just like a dual harvest, hitting everything really hard. Fulgor is a very good ability. It's terrible for breaking. So if something's weak to lightning, this is typically what you're going to use after they're broken. But even then, his elemental attack's a little low compared to, like, you get 100 more points in physical attack. So you're hoping that they're weak to axe attacks. But he does, you know, he has the triple axe attack, which is good. Dual harvest, which is pretty good. Thundershock is not very good, but his Fulgor or whatever is great. So these are like his best abilities, I think. But Esoteric Cure is an ability that really stands out as being pretty fucking sick. Now, the wind resistance 20%, that's kind of like whatever, but a automatic HP recovery of 150 for 2 turns, and you could boost the turns on this. So this is just healing everyone every turn. So for one action, you actually get an insane amount of healing. The only issue with it is that it's not proactive. Sorry, that it's proactive, it's not reactive. So if something hits you and hurts you, this isn't going to heal. You can't then use this to heal your team up. Otherwise, you might lose your party, right? So that's when someone like Millard comes in handy, where you know that they hit AoE, you need to heal that turn. Millard can come in and top everyone off that turn. This is something you want to use before you take damage at all. So use it like on turn 1, try to boost it with his extra BP, you know, or maybe use it on turn 2, but you try to boost it like 4, 5, 6 turns. And then like every 5 turns, you just try to do it again to kind of keep it up and going. So it's a very sick ability. It heals an immense amount of HP over the amount of turns. The wind resistance has never come in handy for me, but I'm sure there's a fight that it does. Trifold Cleave is good. Dual Harvest is good. They're not like incredible. They're random foes. If it was targeted, that'd be better, but it's still like, this is like good. It's pretty good potency. Not great, but this is like good. And this is pretty great, but only against things that are weak against lightning. But overall, I think between his heal and some pretty decent attacks, like, I don't think you're ever mad to have him on your team. Fiora, I think, is kind of in the same spot as Theo, but just a little bit worse. I'm actually going to put Fiora in high B, I think. This is a character I've not used quite as much as some of the other characters. Let's take a look at her skill set just to make sure I'm not completely missing something. But I'm going to take a quick look at her passives. She gets at full HP raise sword damage and start a battle impart itself with physical attack up 20% for a couple turns. That's like okay. It's fine. Her passives are like whatever. Crumbling Cut is very good. It's got the same potency as Healing Thrust, but it's also got defense down in it, so you're actually doing something else besides healing yourself, which is typically not that good anyway. Double Arcing Blow is the exact same thing as the double sword attack or the double axe attack that Theo has. Trifold Slash is the exact same thing that Theo has, but for swords instead of axes. And the issue is that she doesn't have anything as useful in my mind as Theo's heal, right? She doesn't fall back on that utility of having something else to do. She doesn't have like that super powerful elemental attack either, right? She's got an AoE attack that's not very good. Her elemental attack's very low. Her ability to buff her own physical attack and physical defense for 20%. You'd rather be using a character that does that to the whole party, not be wasting your damage dealers and shield breakers turns on buffing themselves. So all of her abilities are not insane. I think she might do a little bit more damage than Theo, being a more dedicated physical damage dealer. And Crumbling Cut is good, but I don't think she goes above B right now, in my opinion. She's good though. Sophia, honestly, this is one of the characters that I do not have, so I don't really know. But Sophia to me seems like a high A tier, like maybe the highest A tier. I think her damage is pretty insane, but from what I understand, she has like well, I mean, let's just go ahead and take a look at her actually, because she is in the guide right now. She's in the step banner, so I can actually examine her her kit really quick, even though I don't have her. Please give me the there we go. Let's go Fiora. No, let's go to Sophia. So like, as we can see, like she seems really good, but like, so I'm gonna put her high A, not quite S, because she's like a one-trick pony. Now that her trick is pretty damn good, right? Low SP, lot of fucking ice damage. Raise the ice damage itself by 30%, and then just a fuck ton of more ice attacks than anyone could ever need, right? So what she does is she hits really, really hard with ice constantly, nonstop. Now, if something isn't weak to ice, she's still going to do good damage, but she's definitely a bit niche in the sense that she does one thing, even though she does it incredibly well. I don't think characters in S can do just one thing incredibly well. Viola does a lot of things depending on your situation. Lynette, I just hear, is really good. Sophia, I think, just can't quite make S due to her limited nature, but that doesn't mean that she's not one of the best units in the game for sure. All right, so now we are at the play, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we're at the 3 characters in the game that aren't the original 8. This is going to be, we're going to start with Heathcote. I'm going to use Wingate because Heathcote isn't here. So this is like a litmus test if you're watching. If I see a comment that's like, why did you put Wingate in B tier? This is Heathcote. If you say that, it means you didn't watch the video, which is fine. But it also means don't ask questions that I answered already, please. Or you can, it's fine. More engagement. So who is this then? It doesn't matter. All right, so Heathcote, I think Heathcote is a solid, I think there's a chance Heathcote is currently the most powerful unit in the game. I do think he deserves to be an S rank right now. I think low S rank. I think he gets power crept by other stuff, but he does have this like pretty insane ability to do all foes 2 times break their shields, all foes 2 times break their shields, single foe 3 times break their shields. That means no matter what fight you're in, you have a unit that could break 3 shields a turn, guaranteed. That's pretty insane. It's at least insane for utility, going like not knowing what you're going into. Like the thing about Heathcote is, as you become more familiar with content, as you get bigger teams and you have more specialized teams, he becomes worse, right? Like if you have a team where they're not weak to daggers, but they're weak to bow, like the super fight I did, right? Bows and fire. If you can make a team of bow and fire guys, then you don't need Heathcote. He's not that good in that situation. But in content where it's like brand new stuff where you don't know what the weaknesses are, I mean, he's very good. So I think as the game gets older and you get bigger accounts, I think he becomes worse and worse. I do think he's potentially an S tier right now because he's just literally useful in every single fight in the game always. Even if he's maybe never the best choice in any fight, he's always good. And then he does 20% damage when exploiting enemy weakness. That's whatever. But I do think this ability is really good. Maybe his best ability here. Swift Jab. Act faster during the turn and deal physical dagger damage to a single foe. This is cool because it has a chance to hit Kates before they get into action. An extra 1 damage. The fact that this always goes first, it's like in Pokemon, it's like a priority up move. Like it's priority 1 or whatever instead of 2. It's like protect or something. It seems like this will always go first unless there's another move of equal priority. Which I think that's very good. It also has high potency. Great attack. Overall, I think Heathcote safely earns a spot in S, but I don't think he holds it for ever. I don't think he holds it forever, but I think for now it's good. All right, so we're gonna actually use we have the other characters we have are Primrose and Tressa as the other characters. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not forgetting anybody. So we're gonna do Tressa first. This is a merchant, so we're gonna use this. I'm trying to use one of each of their respective class. Tressa is a character that seems like pretty good. I think Tressa is probably just like a high B. just better than Gilderoy in a lot of situations in terms of doing her job as a tank. And she has a bit more damage, but I don't know. She doesn't seem like anything special. I'm going to put her maybe above Millard, maybe around here. I don't know. She just doesn't seem like, from what I saw of her, she didn't seem great, but she seemed like reasonable, you know. It seemed like a cool unit, but I never used her. I never pulled her, so I can't totally go off of experience. The ability to stay alive with 1 HP and being able to tank up is pretty cool, but is that really like that insane? I don't know. Especially, like, I don't know if it works on a multi-attack, right? If she has 100 HP and someone hits her 4 times with 1 attack, does she stay at 1 HP for the whole thing? Or does she just get hit once, go to 1, then die on the second hit? That makes it way less good. But, you know, she seems fine. I wouldn't be upset if I got her. She seems good. But I'm still going to put her in B. I don't think I think merchants are just kind of worse than other things right now. Now, this is where a bias is going to come in that I hope you guys understand, that I haven't used Lynette before, okay? But I have used Primrose. I think Primrose is pretty set in stone for me as the best character in the game right now. Now, Lynette might be better. I don't know. I don't have her. But Primrose does fucking everything, and she does it all very powerful. The only downside to Primrose is she's a little bit squishy. But even then, that gets addressed with items, levels, and equipment. It's like she's never going to be a tank, right? That's not what I'm saying, but I think she's a little more squishy now than she will be, especially when I'm using things like Sage's brooches, right? I'm not using like defensive accessories that help keep her alive. But like she just kind of does everything you want. She does great damage, not like insane damage, not the highest I've seen, but she does do great damage. She has a 4 times fan attack. 4 X attacks are very good. Scarecrow has 2 of them, which is why I think Scarecrow is pretty good, but not until 5-star. But then you've got these like really good damage attacks that are also really good utility attacks, and they're combined, which is very, very important in terms of like, you don't need to debuff and then attack. You can attack with your powerful attacks while debuffing, right? Deal elemental dark damage to all foes 2 times with a potency of 105. So this is a 210 AoE potency. This ability is very expensive, but it's very good. And you lower their physical defense and elemental defense by 15% for 2 turns. And obviously, if you use this attack 2 times in a row, it goes up to, you know, it'll tick down to 1 turn, then it goes up to 3 turns. But if you use this like every turn, it'll keep ticking up instead of ticking down. Then when she's out of SP, you can go to the back, and so she buffs her entire team's attack by using her most powerful attack. It's arguable this is her most powerful attack. Dirge of Dusk too, I think, does technically a little bit more damage at max overall. At max BP, I think it's very close. But I think Dirge of Dusk does a little bit more damage. But these things basically stack, right? So use elemental dark damage to deal damage to a random foe 3 times, potency 65 and lower dark resist 15%. I mean, this ability is sick, especially if, you know, if you're taken to a fight. Right now, there's definitely not a better darkness unit in the game. This is easily the best. She makes all your darkness units deal more damage, both by lowering the elemental defense of the enemy and by lowering their specific dark resistance. And she has 2 different insane abilities here. Impart front with physical attack up 20% and physical defense up 20%. Great to go with Viola's like 20% attack down on the enemies. And then my personal favorite is the Verse of Valor 3, physical attack, elemental attack, and speed up front by 20%. So this makes your slow healers, like Millard, who's a little bit too slow to reactively heal properly against bosses that are fast. Like this will give him the boost he needs to potentially go before them to actually heal. It makes your whole team deal more damage. So the speed helps defensively and offensively. The elemental attacks and physical attacks definitely help offensively. Very, very powerful ability. The only reason that this ability isn't absolutely completely broken is that Dirge of Dusk is also so good and Spell Song is also so good. So I'm usually like, which ability do I want to be using this turn? And then if something's weak to fan, she's obviously an absolute machine for doing that. So I think she's the best character in the game, just in terms of like her overall utility. She could defend the team. She buffs the damage of the team. She lowers the defenses of the team. She boosts the speed of the team. Just like absolutely sick. So that's going to be my official tier list. Gilderoy doesn't have to be alone in the C tier. I just don't think there's anyone else quite as bad as him. I do think that there is a chance that Millard is down there, but I think Millard's really good right now. I just think Millard doesn't have the longevity. I'm trying to think if there's any character I missed. There's a new character coming out tonight. I got to be to work in 25 minutes, so I got to get going. But yeah, I think that's everything. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. There is a new character coming out tonight. Oh, no. Maybe I should have done this the next day. Whatever, fuck it. Guys, thank you so much. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed this tier list. I'll make another one. I'll make an updated one maybe every month, every few weeks. We'll see. As enough characters get added, I will try to keep this tier list updated. And again, if you have one of these that's... I don't want to say this one's badly done. It's totally finely done, but has a lot of characters I don't care about using. If you have one that's updated with specifically 5 stars, I would love to see that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for Platypus. Purplatypus. I'll see you next time. Bye.